A few years ago, I was invited by a group of people that I kind of sort of knew to go see one of my favorite bands play at a club. And I was like, oh, thank you guys. That is so nice. And we drove an hour to get to this club. Once we got there, we realized that like half of our group didn't bring IDs with them, so they couldn't get into the club. And on the outside, I was like, oh no. And on the inside, I was hardcore judging them for being adult people who don't carry IDs with them. And the girls who didn't bring their IDs said, what should we do now? Should we all just go home? And I didn't want to go home after driving that long. And I said, well, we kind of wanted to see the band. Would you guys be cool with maybe like going to see a movie or going to get dinner? And that way we could at least see part of their set and then we could leave early with you guys. And the one Gryffindor in the group interrupted me and she said, no. If they don't get to see the band, then none of us get to see the band. And I was like, this is not the last 20 minutes of a Disney movie. We don't all have to miss the band together. But Gryffindor really stuck to it. She handed the girls the keys and she was like, you guys run home, get your IDs, come back here. So the girls run home to grab their IDs. We had to wait in line at the club for a really long time. We finally get to the front and our friends aren't back yet. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I didn't even think that was going to be a problem. But Gryffindor said to the bouncer, we can't go in yet. We're waiting for our friends. And so the bouncer just had us stand off to the side in the cold, and we just stood outside the venue listening to the band play from the outside. And all I could think was, we have cell phones. This is what cell phones are for, situations like these. And I just like, having friends is too hard. I think I'm too selfish for it.
This is the reason why you have to memorize people's cell phone numbers. You guys, I'm at Disneyland. I'm having so much fun and my phone dies. I said, it's okay. I'm with my husband. You know, I'll work together the whole time. It's going to be okay. I go to the restroom. When I come outside, he's missing. He's like gone. I'm like, okay. I go to the men's restroom. I stand outside. I wait there for like 30 minutes. He never comes out. I even screamed his name like, are you in there? Nothing, you guys. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I think I'm lost, but I think I'm going to find him. It's okay. So then I start walking the park and I'm looking for him. And you guys, I don't see him. Okay. At this point, everyone, all the men have hats, like baseball hats, like my husband. So I'm like looking and it's not him. Like 2 hours pass and it's starting to get dark and I go, damn it, I have to tell someone I'm lost. And so I go to a worker. Then I said, hey, I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm lost. He laughs and says, it's okay. It happens a lot. Here's my cell phone. Call your husband. When he gives me the phone, I realize I don't know his number and I'm panicking. So this is part 2 of why you should always memorize people's cell phone number. So at this point, the guy is so nice, lets me borrow his cell phone number. And then I realize I don't know my husband's number. I start panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here forever. But then I remember that the only number I know by heart, by memory is my mom. So I call my mom. She picks up and guys, she saves me. She comes like in 30 minutes. She's there to pick me up. And then I see her and I just start crying. And she's like, it's okay. And she gives me her cell phone. I call my husband. He goes, where are you? And I go, I'm with my mom. He's like, what? And I'm like, I called my mom. He's like, why would you call your mom? And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So he comes out of the park and then he sees me and then he goes, what happened? I go, I don't know. I came out and you were missing. You were gone. And he goes, wait, but you told me to get you a churro. So I was buying you a churro. And I guess I forgot about that. So yeah, so he was looking for me. I was looking for him. So yeah, memorize people's cell phone numbers or write it down. Bye.
How I found out my grandma was faking her leg injury. So last summer, me and my mom found out my granny fell in the shower of her home and injured her leg. My grandma had been living by herself for 5 years since my pawpaw passed away. We would always try to visit my granny as much as possible. But this past year, we wasn't able to visit as often due to the pandemic. So when we found out my grandma had fallen, we were so devastated. So being the sweetheart my mom is, she insisted that my grandma could come stay with us until she recovered from her injury. So when my grandma moved in with us, she used a wheelchair. So we would literally have to pick her up and put her in the bed and wash her in the bath and etc. She was completely helpless. Well, at least this is what I thought. Stay tuned to find out something so shocking it'll make you So part 2. So my grandma is now at this time staying with us and we are taking care of her around the clock 24/7 as if we are registered nurses. I'll admit it was kind of stressful to the point my mom thought about hiring a caretaker or even quitting her job. But I did not want my mom to quit her job, so I vowed to help out more. So one night I was up really late studying for a test. It was really late, like 3 in the morning, but I heard noises coming from the kitchen. I assumed it was my mom, even though my mom is known for going to sleep super early. So I got up to see what she was up to. But as I was walking towards the kitchen, I saw my granny's wheelchair parked by the counter. She wasn't in it. So immediately I thought the worst. But as the closer I'm getting towards the kitchen, I hear cabinets closing and opening and the microwave on. I was really confused. Stay tuned for part 3. Okay, welcome back to part 3. So I'm really confused, so I decided to tiptoe in the kitchen so that whoever was in the kitchen could not hear me coming. So I get to the end of the hallway and I slowly peek my head around the corner, and lo and behold, it was my granny maneuvering around the kitchen without a care in the world. She was reaching up in the cabinets, bending over and everything. I watched her for a full 5 minutes in complete shock. My granny had been faking her leg injury this entire time. So I yelled out, "Grandma, you can walk?" And she looked back and fell on the ground, pretending to have a heart attack.
Story time on the time I had to go pick up my sister who went to Manhattan an hour away and didn't tell my parents. So basically, my sister asked my parents if she could go to her friend's house, which was 5 minutes away. So they came and they picked her up and took her to their house. Fast forward 2 hours later, my parents tell me to pick her up and bring her back home. So I text her and I'm like, "Where are you at? I'm going to come pick you up in 5 minutes. This girl texts me and is like, "Mash, I'm not there. I'm in the city. I'm an hour away. Oh my God." And I'm like, "You stupid." So I had to drive to the city, which was an hour away, and I had to drive back. And my parents told me to also get my Starbucks drink, so I had to go there on top of that. So we were freaking out in the car because my mom has a tracker on her phone and she turned it off and she called my brother, so we thought she knew. But then when we got home, she didn't know.
In high school, one of my friends told me that my brother's girlfriend had cheated on him, and then my friend said, "But whatever you do, you can't tell your brother, because Becky feels really bad about what she did, and it's her truth to tell, okay? So she'll tell him as soon as she's ready to." And I was like, "Don't worry, I won't tell him anything." And then I told him, because I wasn't about to let him walk around looking stupid when everybody else already knew that she had cheated on him, especially because he was headed to a party that night, and I just wanted him to know what he was walking into. So I was driving him to his party, and I was like, so how are you and Becky doing?" And he was like, "Oh, we're doing so good. Becky and I are better than we've ever been." And I said, "That's great, man," because I heard this crazy rumor that I heard that she cheated on you or something. And he said, "Oh, with Anthony Leibovitz? Yeah, I know about that. It was last summer and we just got into this huge fight, so we were kind of technically sort of on a break, and I'm okay with it now." And I said, "Oh, that is new information for me, because what I was told was that she cheated on you with Jason Murray, and then I heard it was last week." And he got dead quiet. He didn't say anything for like 5 minutes. So finally I said, "Would you rather we just skip the bonfire and I could take you to get ice cream instead?" And he was like, "No, Kate, I don't want ice cream. Okay, I'm not a child. I'm 16 years old." And I was like, "Sorry." And we kept driving, and I dropped him off at the beach, and then I went home, and 2 of my friends were at my house, and I was like, "Man, it is about to go down. I just told brother that Becky's cheating on him, and he is pissed." She came running up to our car, and she was like, "Hi," and he was like, "No." And I really wish I'd stayed to see the whole thing. And my friend said, "Wow, wouldn't it be so cool to be a fly on the wall for that breakup? It's gonna get crazy." And then I don't know how my friends and I came to this decision, but we decided to drive back down to the beach and hide in the bushes and spy on him while he broke up with his girlfriend. And we all put on black clothes and beanies and sunglasses because we were like, this is what spies wear. And we sped off to the beach to try and make it in time, but then we got pulled over by a cop, and the cop was like, "Do you have any idea how fast you were going?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, officer. We were just really wired because we were listening to a lot of One Direction really loudly, and we wanted to make it to the beach in time to watch my brother dump his cheating girlfriend." And the cop was like, "Well, slow down." And then we made it to the beach, but they didn't even fight. They just made up and started making out. We were like, "Oh man, we got all dressed up in our fancy outfits for this." And then his girlfriend noticed me in the bushes, but she didn't recognize me, probably because of my fancy spy outfit. And she looked at me and she was like, sorry, honey, he's taken. And I was like, okay, first off, ew. Second of all, call me honey again and I will put laxatives in your drink at Thanksgiving.